Well, hello there, my friend, and welcome. Listen, it has been forever since we have had an update on the case of the murder of Judge Kevin Mullins. I'm looking for the right buttons here. The Letcher County, Kentucky judge who was shot and killed by the Letcher County Sheriff, Mickey Stines, in his chambers. We have covered this case at length, and tonight, we are going to welcome back Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime to talk about the latest couple of things that have happened in the case. So hopefully that interests you, and if it does, stick around. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there again, my friend. Welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin, where we cut through the fluff and sensationalism of true crime. We get down into the nitty-gritty, and the case that we're covering tonight has both nitty and gritty to the extreme. And I'm really excited to welcome Elizabeth Jones back to the channel. She's going to be joining us in just a bit, but before we get to that, let's get started with headlines.
True crime headlines.
How? All right, we've been covering this case all week. The murder trial of Brian Walsh, who was on trial for the murder of his wife Anna. Because of the Kevin Mullins case, I called an audible. We got to cover the Kevin Mullins case. It's a case that we're deep into, but let me read a couple of headlines. This coming to us from WCVB. Brian Walsh trial updates. Jurors shown hacksaw, hatchet, tools from case evidence. Dateline, Dedham, Mass. Hand tools, including a hatchet and a hacksaw, were entered into evidence Friday in the murder trial of Brian Walsh, the Massachusetts father accused of killing and dismembering his wife. Let me mute that. The Cohasset man is accused of killing and dismembering Anna Walsh, 39, around New Year's Day in 2023. Prosecutors allege that Brian Walsh disposed of his wife's remains in dumpsters around the area. Heather Sullivan, a retired Mass State MSP trooper, was on the stand as prosecutors entered into evidence a series of hand tools found during the search of dumpsters at the Swampscott apartment complex. The retired trooper who worked in crime scene services said she took photos that were previously shown to the jury. She was asked to open a series of evidence bags, pull out tools, so that actual tools were shown to the jury. Very dramatic, I'm sure, for the jury. But that was the main thing that happened today. Oh, the other thing that happened today was, what's his bucket? What's his name? The former, what is his name? The former Massachusetts State Trooper from the Karen Reed case. I don't want to remember his name, but he was mentioned today. Anyway, moving on to the case of Anna Kepner. You guys remember Anna Kepner is the 18-year-old Titusville, Florida girl who was murdered on a Carnival cruise ship last month. This one brought to us by Fox News, written by Michael Ruiz, friend of the show, good guy. Title says, stepbrother could be charged in Anna Kepner's Carnival cruise death, according to a lawyer. Dateline Melbourne. The attorney for Anna Kepner's stepmother acknowledged that her 16-year-old stepson may soon face charges. Her 16-year-old stepson, no, it's her son, I thought. Anyway, at the state or federal level in connection with the 18-year-old cheerleader's death aboard a Carnival cruise ship last month. Quote, "We're not sure what the FBI is going to do," said Millicent Athanason, attorney for Chantel Kepner, whether he's going to be charged federally or whether they're going to turn it over to the state. The FBI's Miami office is leading the investigation and has not publicly identified any suspects or announced any charges. The remarks came during an emergency custody hearing in an ongoing dispute between Anna's stepmom and her ex-husband, Thomas Hudson. Both parents in court filings have referred to their 16-year-old son, Anna's stepbrother, as a suspect in the death and the subject of the FBI probe. So at least we've got it. We've got it on record from an attorney for Mrs. Kepner that yeah, TH could be facing charges. No idea when that's going to happen though, and that's killing me. Okay, last headline for the day coming to you from Crime Cod, which you guys should go check out. 4 Sydney men. This comes to us from down under. 4 Sydney men charged in alleged satanic child abuse ring. Dateline Sydney. 4 men in Sydney have been charged with possessing and distributing CSAM as part of an international network that allegedly used satanic symbols and rituals. Dude, this is reminding me of like Nexium, right? Of course, there were no children involved to my knowledge at Nexium, but detectives executed search warrants across the city on November 27th as part of a long-running investigation into the online distribution of the CSAM videos. The arrests were announced Monday by the New South Wales Police Force's Sex Crimes Squad. Let's name these guys: Landon Germanata Mills, Stuart Woods Riches, Mark Andrew Sandecki, and Benjamin Raymond Drysdale, as reported by the AP. So yeah, crime does not stop at the U.S. borders, right? This is part of the human experience. There are those that are just willing to do terrible, terrible things. Oh, and it just kills us, but those are your headlines.
True crime headlines.
Ba-dum-bum. Okay, back to the case at hand, the case of Judge Kevin Mullins. Let's welcome back to the show. I need to unmute this. Sorry about I had you muted, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Jones, Hillbilly Crime. She's
Hi,
back.
Gavin.
Hey,
Thank you for having me.
you've got a new look to the old home studio there.
Yeah, so my friend Jenny, my lawyer friend Jenny,
Mm-hmm.
she gave her office up finally down there on Main Street, right across from the courthouse. So we went down and moved her out, and she gave me this big, nice, fancy desk and chair.
Nice. Yeah.
Moving on up in the world.
Does it feel like you're an executive now?
Oh my gosh, I feel like a real girl.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I got, and I shared it with you. I think you probably already had it because you've got your finger on the pulse down there. But I got a document yesterday from the courts. I got to pull up the right place. Where am I going? Here we are. That is an order denying a motion by Mickey Stines' team. Let me see if I can zoom in on this just a little bit. Denying a motion to unseal the KCPC evaluation. Can you kind of give us some background on why did they want to unseal this? What was it? What is the KCPC evaluation?
Well, we really don't know why they were wanting to unseal it because we don't know what part of it they were wanting to use. Um, but the judge has denied that and said you cannot use anything out of it for the bond hearing. So they had put in a motion and requested to have part of this unsealed so that they could use it for the bond hearing. Now, I don't know why. They never did say, and now it looks like they're not allowed to say.
So, what was the KCPC evaluation? What is it?
Oh, so they, for Mickey Stines' defense, were going with a mental health defense. And so they were not saying that, they were not questioning his competency to stand trial. They were questioning, they wanted him to be evaluated by the doctors down there to see what his state of mind was at the time of the crime.
Right.
And did you see the article that he said that he did it, but he didn't mean to?
No. What article was that?
Well, let me just send it to you real fast.
All right.
And it was in the where Judge Mullins' wife sued the Letcher
Yeah.
jail deputies. It apparently came out of that. Um,
And by the
and
way,
I
that's
was,
not a federal case. That's a state case. I haven't been able to find it yet.
yeah. So let me send you this. I've got it right here. It must have been um, to Gavin. All right. I
Are you
just sent it to
texting or
your text
emailing?
messages. Yeah, I sent it to your text messages.
Oh, okay.
It
Yeah.
was ex-sheriff says he killed Judge, but didn't do it intentionally.
Right.
But
Let me,
I don't have that paperwork. So
okay.
as
Let
soon
me
as
see
you
if I
get it,
can bring it up on screen here real quick. Give me a second. Uh,
I mean, 9 slugs in the guy, but I didn't do it intentionally.
right. I didn't mean, it was an accident. Let's see. Where
Well,
is,
last night on my show, we went over that and we read the 15-page denial of whatever it was to dismiss the case. And then tonight, we are going to read the bond hearing.
okay. When is the bond hearing happening? Has it happened?
I don't think it's been scheduled yet.
Former Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Stines acknowledged in a lawsuit that he killed District Judge Kevin R. Mullins, but said he did not do so intentionally. The statement was part of an answer to a wrongful death lawsuit filed by Mullins' widow seeking damages from him and from 3 deputies she claims should have stopped Stines. Quote, defendant admits to shooting Judge Kevin Mullins in his chambers. Defendant denies he did so intentionally as he lacked the capacity to intend the actions alleged in plaintiff's complaint. To the extent further response is required, defendant denies at this time, the answer says. Okay. So,
That was a mouthful.
yeah, it's a lot, blah, 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 for sure. Yeah, because that's the other thing that happened here is that we've got this lawsuit from Kevin Mullins' widow.
Wife or widow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, who it's basically a wrongful death suit against Stines and 3 other, which basically, I mean, wasn't there a lawsuit from Mickey Stines' wife, kind of in a similar? Has she filed a lawsuit on this?
Not that I know
No.
of,
Okay.
but I might not be the first one to know about something like that.
That's funny. The you're kind of persona non grata down there in Letcher County right now, right?
Well, not everybody can have a really cool accent and I don't know.
I
I
think you
don't know.
got a cool accent.
Well, thanks.
Yeah,
I think so too.
yeah, that's pretty funny. I was reading the document. Let me bring it back up here real quick. I was reading this document. It's a 26-page document and basically says no, you may not unseal this evaluation. And then it goes on to show, I mean, just like every legal filing, there's like 93 pages of stuff, right?
Yeah.
That has previously been filed and so forth. But I thought that this was interesting. This is the last page. It says the defendant seeks to unseal the KCPC evaluation and, quote, introduce portions of the psychological evaluation at an evidentiary bond hearing to support his defense and ensure the court has a full and fair understanding of the relevant facts. However, a bail hearing is not a trial rehearsal. Subject to Kentucky rules of evidence and the case law, upon request for bail, a defendant may testify and call witnesses to show the proof is not evident or the presumption is not great that he committed murder. The narrow issue of the hearing is whether the facts adduced by the Commonwealth, notwithstanding the contradiction of them by the defendant's proof, warrant the conclusion that the proof of guilt is evident or presumption of guilt is great. Any proof which may exist and be used to contradict the Commonwealth's facts naturally exists apart from the sealed KCPC evaluation. and case law. KCPC sealed evaluation or portions thereof may not be introduced into evidence at the bail hearing. So he's like, hey, this is a narrow reason that we're meeting here. We're talking about bond, and so you don't need it. In fact, and the law doesn't allow it anyway. So you just need to present your proof outside of that. I got to figure that the Bartleys kind of knew that this was going to be the way it was going, right?
You know what I think they were doing?
Hmm.
Can I say what I think they were
Yeah,
doing?
that's why you're here.
I think. Now, I could be wrong, of course, but seeing what happened last time that they responded to something, they attached the grand jury testimony
They did.
to. So if they would have unsealed this, I just think that maybe they would have attached that to something to which would have been able to get it out into the public in a leaking way. You know what
That
I'm saying?
yeah, they are,
They're smart. It's strategy.
and they do seem to be trying this in the court of public opinion more than they're trying it in actual court, right?
Well, they're
Oh,
smart.
they
They're
are.
smart.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Because if you think about it, all these courthouse people, they're all old, stuffy know it alls that think that, they have been stuck in the way that everything has always ran. And the world is changing. The world is changing all the way around the criminal justice system, and it's kind of still been stuck in the same way it's been going for quite some time. Like, we didn't just wake up one day and, all this corruption that we're talking about, this isn't just happening in Eastern Kentucky, but Eastern Kentucky's kind of one of the last places in the world to get like they're still smoking in the courthouse. You know what
right.
I'm saying? They
Yeah.
still control, they're still back in the old days, in some sense. And the Bartleys are young, they're hip, they know about TikTok, they know about Snapchat, they know how to use those platforms. And they also know that, the world of true crime and the world of, the way that people get their information today has changed so much.
Yeah. Well, this reminds me, what has happened? By the way, real quick, over in the live chat, guys, it really helps me if you put GF in any question that you want me to see. It highlights it, and I can see that my mods are having the Nightbot remind you this. But please, 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 even if you've already put in a question, I promise you I can't see it unless you put GF in the comments. So please do that. I'd really love to answer any questions that you guys have. But your comment, Elizabeth, it it reminds me that there is a motion still pending, right? Where the prosecution is asking for a change of venue.
Yeah,
Has that been decided yet?
not one bit.
And this is
I haven't
strange.
heard anything about it.
This is strange because typically it's the defense. It's like, hey, I want my client to get a fair shake. We need a change of venue. But in this case, it's the opposite. The prosecution is saying, in order to have a fair trial, we need to get out of Letcher County. I don't think that really holds all that much water, though, because, I mean, this is all over the state. It's all over the
Yes.
world.
Yes, it is. Well, that's a perfect example of what I was trying to explain earlier. The criminal justice system has been so used to one certain way, and you got to think everybody that works in it, whatever their role is, they've just gotten used to it being the way that it's been always. And now things are starting to change. They've got TikTokers that are lawyers. There's one in particular that I'm thinking of, and she has just waged war on the family court system.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, yeah, like all of her TikToks, she is blasting the corruption and the wrong, the misconduct of these judges, and these other attorneys. Honey, she has made a name for herself. And, I watch her sometimes, and people are saying the same things to her that they say to me, please be careful. Are you, fearful for your life? And it's not, I said, 20 years ago, I probably would be dead already. But the world has changed so much now. Plus, I don't drink, so I'm not going to no bars at night. I'm not, out on the road at night, period, unless we're coming to or from a ball game. And
Right.
I've got a vehicle full of kids with me all the time, big basketball players. So try me if you want to, I guess, and they're gonna, anybody, like if somebody was to actually come to hurt me at my home or something, you're gonna go past 100 cameras. You're gonna go past a school that's surrounded by cameras, and every camera by, door camera, whatever, you're gonna get caught.
Yeah,
You can't
there
get
was a
away with that
case
stuff.
there was a case out in western Pennsylvania near Spartansburg, Pennsylvania, which is full on deep Amish country. Uh, it just and what had been happening was there had been break-ins, like burglaries in all these Amish farms, and nobody had connected what was going on there. I happened to be in I was reporting on the story. So I was in Sparty and I was talking with the people that own the hardware store. And there happened to be a couple of Amish folks in there and they started telling me about it. Yeah, there's this
Mm.
rash of burglaries, right? So I go back to the Pennsylvania State Police, they call them public information release reports, and start finding reports of burglaries out there in Crawford County near Spartansburg. Go back to Spartansburg and I say, is this person Amish? Is this person Amish? Is this person Amish? Right. And I was able to tie together like 11 robberies or burglaries that had happened there. Right. Okay. So then what happened was in the course of a burglary, a man thought he had the place cased and he goes inside and a young mom, pregnant, 8.5 months pregnant with two little kids, aged 4 and 2, something like that. And he slits her throat, kills her. Okay. Now, and of course, when I was reporting on this and talking about these connected burglaries, the suspect's family is like, well, there goes that Gavin Fish connecting thing that has nothing to do with it. He eventually he eventually pleaded guilty because he definitely
You
was guilty.
investigated.
Yeah, I was the one that connected those things publicly. Now the police, of
Mm-hmm.
course, were connecting those things behind the scenes for sure. Anyway, at his preliminary hearing, living out in the middle of podunk nowhere, Amish country, no electricity kind of place, they
Yeah.
had him on camera everywhere. Everywhere. There was there was a sportsman's club out there that had
Yeah.
cameras and there were like hunting
Hunters.
cameras
Yeah.
there, right? There was a gas station, there was, and it's full on the kind of gas station that has one lonely pump and then like five horse ties.
Yeah.
What do they call those? I can't remember, that you tie your horse to, but uh yeah, like you cannot go anywhere in the modern world without being caught on camera. You just can't.
Every home in America has a doorbell camera or,
Yeah.
something now. And so, if somebody wants to do that, then they're gonna get caught. And so, look at Mickey Stines. Mickey Stines, we're here today because Mickey Stines, I don't know whether he remembered that camera was there or not. He could have just been so mad and just wasn't even thinking about that until after it was over, and then was like, oh shit, that camera's there.
Oh
I
dear.
can't get away. I mean, he walked down the sidewalk. That could have been a very real thing. Him try to get away with it and get out of there, and then realize they've got the camera
Yeah,
and
I
turned
I'm
around and came
still,
back.
as you know, I'm a professional waffler, so I waffle back and forth on all this all the time.
I do too.
Um But I, do you think he was crazy in that moment?
No, no,
You don't?
no, I don't. No, I'm starting to think. I've always thought this, really. Um, but I've kept an open mind, because I haven't like drilled down on one thing and been real, narrow focused on this. I don't have no dog in the fight, so I don't care what the truth is. It is what it is.
Just
But
want the truth to be out. Yeah.
yeah, I think that um, there was just so much stuff, and I think he thought that he was getting ready to go down alone. I think he thought that they were maybe grooming is might be the wrong word. Um, Charming, maybe trying to charm him into, oh, Mickey, you're going to be all right, man. You're not going to run again anyway. You just go ahead and do this and then it'll be over with. And, maybe he thought he was the only one that was going to go down. And I could see myself sitting across the desk from the person that I knew all this stuff on. That I knew he had done all this stuff, and basically the only reason I was in the position I was in is because of him doing his stuff. Couldn't stop doing his stuff. I might be a little bit upset too. Dude, you're getting ready to get away with everything, and I'm gonna go down. This ain't fair. This ain't right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, again, I waffle back and forth. When I first saw the video of him being interviewed by the state police,
Hmm.
in the beginning I was like, dude, okay, this guy's 20 years in law enforcement. He knows how to act crazy. He's seen it like a million times, right? And so in the beginning I was like, maybe. But when he is too afraid to go down the stairwell, and then later on in the cop car, and as he's being transferred out to the other jail, it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if that can be an act.
Well, I think that the paranoia was real. But just because you have paranoia and he was scared of going down that stairwell doesn't mean he's crazy. You know, um, he could. Now, I do believe that the threats were real. I feel like, I don't think that he just went and did this, just because he got mad. I think that it was a perfect storm of all of the stress and the pressure that was around him. And only he knows what he's sitting on in the truth.
Yeah,
Only he knows that. We don't have any idea what he knows on other people and what he don't. Nobody knows but him.
yeah,
So, we might not can even understand or even comprehend the kind of secrets that he knows.
yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. This is a case, man. Hey, what's been happening with uh Miss Lila Steins on TikTok and stuff like that? Has anything else come out on that?
Well, I don't follow her. I never have. The only time I got something is if somebody had sent it to me, or something. So I haven't really been paying attention. She's come to a couple ball games. Um,
Have you
the
talked
other
to
one,
her yet?
no,
Why not?
no, I don't want any part of that fish.
Oh, dude, I'd be all
Mm-mm,
over it. I would
not
be
me.
all over it.
Not me. Not at all.
Well,
Let's see.
is it that
This
you
is
just
the
don't want to
thing.
be seen publicly talking with her or
Oh
something?
no, no. I'm not a reporter, fish. Everybody kind of gets that confused and mistaken. They keep trying to stick me in a box stick me with a title, and then they get upset when you're not a reporter. No, I'm not. I don't like to interview people because um, I stutter over my words. I kind of I blank out when I get nervous and I don't know what to say. And so I would rather watch an interview and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And you're right. I mean, you're right. I am more of a reporter bent, and if I saw Lila Stines 500 yards away from me, I would run toward that and I would want to talk to her. Because I this is one of those cases where I kind of feel like justice was meted out. I'm not I feel like there's so much evidence that has come out pointing to the fact that for years Kevin Mullins was essaying women. That I don't mind. Now, this is horrible because, again, professional waffler, right? Professional waffler here. But it's horrible because I don't like prison justice. I don't like vigilante justice. But on the other hand, dude, if there are hundreds of victims out there, some of them probably don't even consider themselves victims. They don't understand the power imbalance. They don't understand just how wrong, morally, ethically, legally, that behavior is. I think that there are probably hundreds, and so I understand. I guess I understand what happened, and I kind of feel like you're not, and as a reporter, you're not supposed to take sides, right? But I'm kind of on Mickey Stein's side on this.
So a lot of people are. A lot of people are. I'm not
Yeah.
on anybody's side because they both treated me, like I didn't exist. So I don't have any, like I said, I don't have any dog in the fight. Um, I just, I we still don't have any proof or evidence on Mullins with anything. Nobody's come out and brought anything concrete on him. It's all been, I mean, even though everybody knows he was a dirt bag. I mean, everybody just knows it. And around here, and I use that word because it's been used to me so many times by so many different people. That's
Yeah.
not my word. That's what community members have said to me. You know, yeah, we don't think that what Mickey did was right, but regardless of whether there's proof out there on the judge or not, he was still a dirt bag, and everybody knows it.
Well,
Um,
people reach out to me and they will say stuff like, um, "I've seen the video that Sabrina Atkins talks about in her proffer. There's video proof of Judge Mullins
yeah,
having sex in his chambers with a
yeah,
woman from the jail, right?
mhm.
That's the implication. And people will say, "I've seen the video." Okay, do you have the video? Well, no. When did you see it? And they become really, really defensive. And I'm just asking basic reporter questions, right? Like, okay, I've got my
Mhm.
skeptical hat on. I don't. My skeptical hat is on my lamp right there, but I'm putting on my skeptical hat, and like a couple of them have said, "Hey, this video is coming out," and I would say, "Have you seen it?" Well, no, I haven't seen it, but I know it exists. Well, how do you know it exists? And so for I don't know how many people I've talked to, texted, actually talked on the phone with in this case, probably more than a dozen that all says,
Mhm.
"Yeah, the video's there and it's going to come out." "Oh, have you seen it?" "No." Or, "Yes, I have." "Okay, can you provide it to me?" I just really can't do that. So, I don't know that the video really exists.
Exactly, fish. Exactly. So, I found myself, through experience, trial and error, I found myself on the backside of eating that hook, line, and sinker,
Hmm.
right? And then get on the other side of it and start seeing, uh, okay, well, some of this stuff ain't lining up, some of this ain't panning out, once you start digging, right?
Yeah.
And people will feed you something very convincingly, right?
Yes.
And then you go spend 3 hours researching and digging on this thing and then find out, oh, you know, eh, really mistaken. There you can
Yeah.
see where they see, or you can kind of see once you do the research and get in there and dig, you can kind of see they why they think what they do. But here's what has boiled down. This is what I have deducted from a situation, one specific situation I'm thinking of. Um, you know, a lot of times people don't know what all comes with stability. Like they think, oh, my dad was a millionaire. My dad was a drug dealer. He was a big time drug dealer. So I know he had millions in the bank. I know he did. He had to have. Well, then you find like 5 bankruptcies, and everybody in town had been suing them in small claims court. They don't have as much. Nobody's got that kind of money. I don't care what kind of drug dealer you are. They're not wealthy. Drug dealers are not wealthy. I mean, we call them, mommy used to call it holler poor or holler rich. You get holler rich, like the Beverly Hillbillies,
Mhm.
um, and then you get a big bunch of money and you just blow it, and you don't
Right.
use it and invest it and do something with it that will make more money. How many people got big settlements, black lung settlements and stuff like that around here? Great big chunks of money, and it's gone. It's gone. I mean, they might
Mm.
have bought them a double wide, or, bought them a vehicle, and family. You got tons of family then that you're helping out.
Yeah, that
And
come to you like this, right? Yeah.
and addiction, and then everybody wants to be a drug dealer. Everybody thinks, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to buy this and I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to take that money and I'm going to go get another, and then I'm going to flip it, and then and that's the kind of business minds that you have here, because you don't have education. You don't have people who are educated, and it doesn't even matter if they are educated. Look at me. Look at me. I had a master's degree and couldn't do a damn thing with it because of who I was or who I wasn't.
Hmm.
And so I'm not the only one. Back in the 80s and the 90s, this place was packed. You couldn't go to the football field in neon, and it was standing room only, cars jam packed in there everywhere. Take 2 hours to get everybody cleared out. There was just people everywhere. Now we can't even have a football team at our school because we don't have enough kids to play.
Yeah.
People have left. And one of the other things, like this mess that I've had here in Jenkins, just like with my neighbors and the cops, like they don't support tax paying good people that you think, well, they've got a career, they're going to be building, they're going to spend a lot of money here, they're going to invest here, they're going to want to keep their family here, they're going to, you want those kinds of people. Those are the kinds of people that you want. No, they're backing the meth dealers. They're out here supporting, the people that are taking over all of our property, and they don't care. They don't care.
So,
I've fought the chief of police and the mayor over this mess here out behind me. Took over half my property, not just mine. Now they're taking over. Well, they took over the graveyard back there across the creek. And trust me, since I've started my show, I cannot tell you how many people have reached out to me over property thefts. And they use the court to do it, like fraudulent deeds. People going and signing deeds over, forging signatures on them, and people losing their property because somebody forged something and took it up there, and then nobody's got no money to hire an attorney. And when your lawyer's in on it all, When your own lawyer is in on it all, now that's the kind of organized crime that I'm talking about,
And
that
that
I've been talking
and do
about.
you think Mullins was part of that sort of stuff too?
I think they've all been in on it from as far back as you can go. I just, like I said, I can't even tell you how many stories that I've gotten that I've just been sitting on. I don't go tell them, I don't put them on my show, because you can't prove none of it. You can't prove none of it. Like, uh, one family that was here, this woman had adopted a son, and he moved away. He grew up, moved away. Well, whenever the mom and her husband passed away, allegedly, the sister of the mom was just pissed off because her estate, that was her sister's estate, and no way should that adopted kid get
Oh, that's
all
horrible.
of her sister's money. Well, it was told to me that they went and gave a certain lawyer $500. Now, this was way back 30 years ago. This wasn't, just recently. So $500 30 years ago was a lot of money. And changed the will. And that boy didn't even know that he was in it, so he
Mm.
didn't know to contest it.
Didn't show up, so lost by default, right?
Hmm.
Um,
How many of those things you think has happened over the years? I mean,
yeah,
Jenny, uh,
yeah.
my friend, is an attorney, so she knows she's been doing a whole lot of like federal work. She's been doing a whole lot of other stuff. And so she's kind of guided me and shown me how to look for things and how to see things. And one of the things that I found through working with somebody else too was there were so many cases in appeals cases that had one particular judge and one particular lawyer in common, over 100 cases in
Oh
appeals.
yeah,
And it was for summary judgments. And so this one particular lawyer would file these cases asking for a summary judgment of, say, $8,500. And this judge would grant it, but he would grant 10,000. I'm just using that as a number. I'm making it up as
yeah.
a fake example. He would grant it and now, mind you, this person was nowhere. They were not even entitled to this money. They were not entitled to it to begin with, right? And which is one reason why we're in appeals, or why we're finding these in appeals. And but the judge would grant it, just grant a summary judgment, 10,000, and so they would win it. Well, then the cases that we're finding, they're not from individuals, they're from hospitals, they're from insurance companies, they're from other
Oh
people who have lawyers,
yeah.
so they can afford to take it
So how
into
many of them
appeals.
didn't go to appeal? Yeah.
So how many didn't go to appeal if we've found over 100?
Wow. So I mean,
In this county?
just in
In,
Letcher
in
County.
this county, with this
Yeah.
one judge and this one attorney.
So before we finish off this conversation, because I want to get to our last segment, which I think is going to be great. Um, what what comes next in the Mickey Stines prosecution? I guess we got a bail hearing coming up sometime, but Kentucky courts just have a real hard time. Like, I can't find anything scheduled, I guess. What comes next?
I don't know if the Bartleys even, I mean, of course, I don't talk to them. Um, so I have no idea what they're thinking or doing, or of course, but
Yeah.
I think that they pretty much know. They ain't nobody giving him a bond. Even if the judge says, okay, I'm going to, well, the one temporary judge, the female, who was appointed for one of the days in the process. She had said, I made a statement that she was, she didn't like not giving people a bond.
Yeah.
She didn't care what they did. She didn't think that was fair. Or let me take that back. Not that she didn't care what they did. She didn't say
Right.
that. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That she doesn't think that anybody should not have a bond, whatever it was she said to that effect. Well, she took a lot of heat for that. I mean, people were outraged. And I think that she just didn't want to have to deal with that after she saw how much people responded to it on both sides of the fence. You had people on both sides of the fence that was responding to it.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't even take it up then whenever she came back. She was like, I think I'm going to let the trial judge deal with this. She didn't even, she was like,
That's funny. Okay,
I don't
well,
know.
I guess we will find out as
Yeah.
it happens, right? Okay, um, I've got a new segment. All right, now here's the deal with this segment. It is called Three Questions. Before we begin the segment, these questions are for you. Now, they typically come in from my viewers for me, but I have kind of taken what some viewers have asked and I have editorialized a little bit to point to you. Okay, so
Okay.
people who have asked those questions, I will answer them too eventually. Okay, but here's the deal. I can't tell you what the question. It could be about anything because nothing is off the table. Everything is on the table. It's not necessarily about your channel, True Crime, Kevin Mullins. It could be anything. But you have to
All right.
solemnly promise that you are game to answer any question that you get. You in?
Truth or dare. I'm truth all the way.
All
Yes.
right, here we go.
It's three questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow. Okay, Elizabeth Jones. Let's bring
I
up the
love that.
first question. Here we go. You ready? You like the production value there? It's pretty
I
good stuff,
do.
huh?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, first question for Elizabeth Jones, Hillbilly Crime. By the way, guys, if you have not subscribed to Hillbilly Crime, you need to subscribe to Hillbilly Crime. Okay, how many
Yeah. And
subscribers
I'll
do
be
you have
doing,
now?
we got over 26,000, I
Noise.
think. And I'm going to be doing my show as soon as we get done with this. I haven't scheduled it yet, but as soon as we get done with this, I'll schedule mine, and mine will probably be at 7:30.
So head on over there. Good. Okay. First question is, what drives you to keep covering stories even when pressure gets personal and local? I know. Well, you told me that you're in a bit of a what would we call it? A scuffle, a tiff between yourself and the local paper. What
Well,
what
I don't
what keeps
know
you
if
going?
it's a tiff. So what drives you to keep covering stories even when the pressure gets personal and local? Because I have to pay my bills and I have to have a job. And I planned this 2 years before I ever started it. This did not just pop up out of, overnight. I
So
really
the
worked my
timing
tail off.
with the Kevin Mullins case was just, I guess,
God.
yeah, just all right. So
He
I mean,
shot Kevin 6 days after I started my first show.
wow, wow, man. So just kismet there.
Yeah.
It was meant to be.
And
Um,
God has prepared me for this all my life. All of the rejection, all of the isolation, all of the disappointment, all of the failure that I have had all my life. The last 15 years, my life turned around. And so, that prepared me. I'm not easily broken. And so
I can
that
tell.
prepared me for this, like now when I see them pull these moves that they think are just gonna, I'm gonna go out and put a that's what they think I'm gonna do. They're just gonna destroy me. Honey, I love it. You bring it on. If that's the best you got, come on.
That's a good attitude because I'll tell you what, in my life, the times when I've had two pretty deep depressive episodes. I wasn't clinically like diagnosed or anything, but two times where I've gotten really down, and it has
Mm,
been when I've had to face failure. Right, it's just been
mhm,
really tough, and it seems like with you, that is the motivating factor. Right, push on through
mhm.
it. Hey, you know what
Well,
I
I
just realized? They're called hitching posts. That's what they're called, hitching posts. Sorry, I had to. That one was not going to let. I wasn't going to let it go. Okay, what were you going to say?
I don't remember. That's okay.
All right, let's move on to the second question because this is three.
All
Oh, I need to
right.
bring up, guys. If you want to ask three questions, sometimes of me, sometimes of my guest, email them to 3questions at gavinfish.com. 3questions gavinfish.com. It's spelled out THREE. And I don't get all that many questions. I think people are afraid to ask. That
They don't know it. It's still new. You'll get
Yeah.
more.
Well, you know what? One of the questions was yesterday, full on. It was boxers or briefs.
I love it.
I've had one question that was, what is the appropriate quantity of lovemaking sessions a couple should have in a week?
What was the answer?
Depends on how old
Okay.
you are. Are you newlywed? Because in that case, it's like 50.
If you're my age, it's like zero.
That's right. Yeah. Do you have prostate cancer? Yeah, negative. All right. All right.
Gotcha.
Question number
Gotcha.
2. What is the most unexpectedly funny moment you have experienced while and it says reporting, but I want to follow your lead here. You're not a reporter, but you are telling stories. So what's the most unexpected funny moment you've experienced while you've been telling a serious story?
Uh, well, I still do it. I really should try not to, but I'll be having a real serious story up, and we'll be watching something, but at the same time, I'm trying to go through my comments, and a lot of times our people are having conversations that don't have anything to do with what's
They're just chatting.
yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, we have a real community just like you do. I
Yeah.
mean, I love it. I love it. But I'll get over there into some of those comments, into some of those conversations, those side conversations, and I'll notice they're over there on the screen. It's talking about all this serious stuff, and I'm sitting here like, grinning and laughing and going on. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh God, I better
While you're
stop
talking,
doing
I sometimes have to give the disclosure to my audience that hey, I take crime serious, I take victims serious, I take victims' families very seriously. I do not take life or myself seriously. You
right.
gotta laugh, man. You gotta laugh. And
I have a kind of an odd sense of humor.
do you? What is a? Give me an example of like who is a comedian that speaks to you like that will make you laugh.
Um, a comedian. Well, Cat Williams, George Carlin.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, you kind of the brainy stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, good
yeah.
stuff.
But
All right,
I really like George Carlin.
I like Carlin too. I like Carlin. He seemed he was an astute. Well, I guess most comedians are. He was just a very good observer of the ridiculousness of the human condition. Right? Like he was really good at that. Okay, third
Mm.
question. What is one thing that makes you feel strong every time you do it?
What is one small thing that makes you feel strong every time you do it? Oh, what is one small thing that makes you feel strong? When I apologize. when I
Yeah.
admit I'm wrong. Yeah, because
Uh,
every time I do, I can feel that. I feel that strength when I do it. But you don't feel it unless you do it. It's a
It
hard
does.
thing to do,
It is a
too.
difficult thing to do. It gets easier with practice.
It does. Like the other
Unfortunately,
day,
yeah. Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The other day, I'd kind of got into it with another mom over our kids. Our kids were fussing with each other. And um, I didn't know his mom, or nothing, but um, I kind of, I came in on 10 and she came in on 1. And I stayed at 10 and she stayed at 1. And I was like, what's going on here? Because I, I've experienced so many people that I thought were my friends, but obviously they weren't ever my friends. But they chose the Matt Butler ultimatum. They
Mm-hmm.
chose him and not me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really I don't know who's friend or foe anymore sometimes. So I walk around with the scowl just waiting, in defense mode. Because I don't know if you're going to smile at me or if you're going to cuss me out. But if you're going to cuss me out, I'm going to bark right back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to take it. And, I told you I was chased around by the judge's wife and I barked right back at her. And it sure didn't go the way she thought it was going to go. And old Butler's wife, honey, I barked right back at you.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't go the way that she thought it was going to go either. And I'll give you what you give me.
Well, what happened
And
then with this
it's
mom
hard.
who gave you 1 out of 10?
Oh, well, I had to I came down to a 5 and then I came down to a 4 and she just kept staying at 1 and then I felt this big, and I was like, I'm so sorry, man. I am so sorry. And I have respect that I've not had for many in my entire life. I've got more respect for her and I don't even know her and I've not spoke to her since either, but still.
Yeah, that whole admitting that one is wrong is actually empowering because it allows you to kind of be it allows you to be introspective, to kind of I call them personal inventories. I do them every week. Every Sunday I do an inventory of myself. How did this week go? How did I do? And you know, I give myself attaboys when I feel like I really did a good job, and I lash myself. I give myself mental, flagellation when I feel like I've done poorly. I'm not like I'm not down on myself. I mean, you got to extend grace to yourself too. But when you recognize the times that you have fallen short, and if you're able to apologize for those things and make those things right, it really is self healing, right? It really does. It does help.
And something else I did last night? I sat down and I took all of my analytics for which um, me and you need to have a talk soon. Hopefully after this show, if you got a
Yeah.
few minutes
Yeah, I got it.
um, before mine. So I don't have mine scheduled yet, so it's okay. We can talk for as long as we need to. But I took all my analytics and I put them into my Chat GPT.
Hmm.
And, I've been using Chat GPT for the whole time that I have been working on my show, but I've been using it to like show me how to do this Shopify. Like it helped me build my merch store. It
Hmm.
helped me connect everything. Like I didn't know the just the computer stuff. You
Yeah.
have to connect this to that, and you have to do this, and I just didn't know any of it. And so that's what I used my chat GPT for, right? Was to
Hmm.
help me get all of this going. And you have to know what to ask it to do.
That is
You know,
correct.
to
Yeah.
get the right questions. You have to know how to prompt it to get what you need. And if you're not asking the correct way, it's going to give you an answer, but it's not going to give you the answer that you really need if you
Yeah.
don't know how to ask. And so I've just through trial and error and experience, usage, practice, I've been putting all this together. Well, I never thought about doing that, using it for that yet. And I followed your lead. I asked you if you paid for it. And you
Yeah.
were like, yeah, I use it every day. And I was
Hmm.
like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I pulled the trigger on it, and now I've got my Pro 2. And I put all my analytics in it last night. And honey, I tell you what, you just, I had no idea that I had accomplished as much as what I had. Like one of my boy's friends came in today and he was like, "You got 26,000?" He's like, "Mr. Beast didn't even have that in his first year."
Oh
And I
yeah.
was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, Mr. Beast only had like 8,000 his first year." I mean,
No,
these are
it's
like 12-year-old kids, right?
yeah,
And they know
yeah,
all of this stuff. And so I'm really trying to, uh, I've really, honey, I'm
yeah.
learning more than, and I have it on just on my Facebook in the last week. I've just from tweaking things here and there and using my chat GPT and asking it to help me figure out how to do this and how to do that and how to do this. Um, I have made more money this week on Facebook than I have in the last 6 months on Facebook.
Wow. Well, I don't mean to brag here, Elizabeth, but
Mm.
on Facebook last month,
Yeah.
I made like $15.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about because I figured it out, Gavin.
Okay, well,
I
let me
figured
wrap up the
it
show
out.
real quick. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And
Well, we gotta go talk about money.
yeah, I know. We're gonna wrap up the show. Hey guys, real quick, let me get to the right. Say goodbye, Elizabeth. We'll see you. Everybody's gonna go check you out about 7:30. Okay, give me just
Yep.
1 second here. All right,
Okay.
guys. Big thanks to Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime for joining today. She's always game every time I ask. She comes on and she's just amazing. Real quick, remember that you can find me on my website, gavinfish.com. There's always a link in the description down below. You can reach out to me by clicking on this little envelope, by clicking on this little fishy icon up in the upper right hand corner. That will take you to the fish tank where me and 5,800 of my closest friends hang out on Facebook. You're always welcome. Come check us out. We have a good time. My little sister is the admin of the group. She's doing a really good job. So always remember that. And then I think that's all I got for you. So of course I take the weekend off. I like to rest and relax a little bit, but we'll be back Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. And I hope to see you then. Until then, I bid you adieu, and I'll see you the next time. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.